Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me. I'll just wait a few minutes and set up. So here we are. Abortion rights are at risk more than ever. And I could not miss this moment to come on live and give you my opinion, what I think, what legal scholars and attorneys are foreseeing, the impact of the ban on abortions in several states and what this means going forward. I mean, we don't even have to watch Handmaid's Tale because America is living every day a scene out of Handmaid's Tale with fundamental rights being slipped away slowly, slowly, and slowly. So I'm going to discuss the impact of that in this video. So for those who are unaware of what's going on, a key vote on the Women's Health Protection Act, a Democratic-led bill aimed at preserving access to abortion nationwide, failed in the Senate this week. So this was a bill put forward by the Democrats to try to preserve something as it relates to abortion rights. So it essentially aimed to codify, put into law the right to access abortion into federal law and guarantee the right of healthcare providers to perform abortion services. So this bill would have banned states from putting any restrictions on abortions, including ones that fall short on autonomy. Typically, senators who generally oppose abortion restrictions voted no, saying that this law put forth by the Democrats was too broad and too expansive. So here we are. Now, this vote comes across as the US Supreme Court is pretty much positioning itself to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling, as indicated from a leaked draft opinion. Now, Politico published the leaked draft opinion, which was dated February 10th, where 5 members of the court, Justices Alito, Kavanaugh, Barrett, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, all voted to overturn Roe shortly after it was argued in December. So that's where we are currently. Again, the attempt to codify it into law was struck down just yesterday, just hours ago. So, what does this mean? Let's just give you some background about Roe if you're not familiar with the case. So, in 1970, Jane Roe, which was a fictitious amendment, is a fundamental right to privacy. It's inherent, it's not explicitly stated. So, that protects a pregnant woman's right to choose to have an abortion. However, this right is balanced against the government interest in protecting women's health and protecting potentiality of human life. Now, the Texas law challenged in this case violated this right. So the due process clause of the 14th Amendment protects against state action's right to privacy and a woman's right to choose to have an abortion within the right of privacy. So this case created the right of privacy essentially. Even though again it's not mentioned in the Constitution, it was confirmed in this state in this case law. So essentially it set out that a state law that broadly prohibits abortion without respect to the stage of pregnancy or any other interest violates that right. So state law can't just pass a blanket abortion, a blanket ban on abortion without balancing the interests of the woman. It has to balance it in its explanation of why it will put forth this law. So, although the state has a legitimate interest in protecting the health of pregnant women and potentiality of human life, the relative weight of each of these interests varies over the course of the pregnancy, and the law must account for this variability. So, essentially, the state has less of an interest in in interfering in a woman's right to privacy earlier on in the stage of pregnancy, as opposed to as the viability of the fetus with age comes along during the stages of pregnancy. So the the longer into the pregnancy, the state has a greater interest and so may legislate. So that's what Roe set out. So again, essentially in the first trimester of pregnancy, the state may not regulate the abortion decision. Only pregnant women and her physician can make that decision. Yet, in the second trimester, as the pregnancy goes further along, the state may impose regulations on abortion that are reasonably related to maternal health. And it's up to the state. The state has discretion in determining what is reasonable. And in the third trimester, once the fetus reaches a point of viability, a state may regulate abortion or apportion abortion or prohibit it entirely, so long as the state contains exceptions for cases when abortion is necessary to preserve the life of the mother. So at the time that Roe v. Wade was passed, nearly all states outlawed abortion. Again, this is 1973, where a large proportion of the United States was against abortion, except in cases to save a woman's life or for limited reasons, such as preserving a woman's health or instances of rape, incest, fetal anomaly. So the Roe decision rendered all of these laws across the United States unconstitutional, making abortion services vastly safer and more accessible to women throughout the country. So women didn't have to worry because of this federal law that legalized abortion. Decision also set forth a legal precedent that affected more than 30 subsequent Supreme Court cases. So Roe v. Wade wasn't it. A lot of state laws still try to um, create laws to limit how expansive Roe v. Wade was in their state legislation. So that was 1973 and what was going on in 1973. Here we are today. There was a leaked draft opinion, which was an unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision. And so now the country is scrambling, especially Democrats. So some may argue, and maybe Republicans are saying, oh, well, justices can sometimes change their vote. This draft opinion doesn't mean anything. Um, um, there's multiple drafts or vote trading. Sometimes just days before a decision is unveiled, a justice can change his or her mind. The court is holding that nothing is final until it's published, which is likely to be in the next 2 months. But it's best that we believe that this is pretty much a done deal. Like, this is it. This is real life Gilead. That abortion will be banned. There will be no federal protection to abortion. So a lot of people may be asking, why wasn't this codified before? Why wasn't this put forth to be federal law before? So for 49 years since the 1973 decision, there have been congressional attempts to pass a constitutional amendment overturning Roe v. Wade, as well as to codify. So it's not like the Democrats and the Republicans. This has not been an issue that was left alone. Each Yearly, there probably have been bills put forward to challenge it as well as to codify it and support it. According to some law professor, profession, excuse me, according to some law professors who study abortion rights, The Senate at the time had probably bipartisan majority that supported abortion. Now, this is back in 1973, where political parties weren't as much as a thing as they are now. And so it seemed to pass further legislation would be overkill because the abortion rights movement trusted the courts to protect abortion rights for some time, and the opinion was written in a balanced way that state interests will not overshadow a woman's right to choose. Well, they were very optimistic. They didn't anticipate that we would be here. Even during the 1976 presidential campaign, both Republican Gerald Ford and Democrat Jimmy Carter opposed abortion in some cases. And so, in that year, for the first time, they approved the Hyde Amendment, which bars using federal dollars for most abortions, including the government's Medicaid health insurance program. So, this dates back to the 1970s, where opponents of abortion were continued to support the right, and it became more and more conservative over the years. So that is where we are now. We're facing a very conservative court who will probably overturn abortion. So you must be asking, I've been talking for a while. Let me see if anyone has entered the chat. Okay. So if Roe v. Wade is overturned, everyone must be asking what will happen. So I've mapped it out. Just so you know, Roe v. Wade will not be recognized at a federal level. It will be left to the states to legislate it or ban it altogether. And that looks like what we will see. We will have staunch support of abortion rights, where these states support abortion rights, and then staunch um, banning of abortion rights will be totally illegal. There will be no gray area. There will probably be no 6 weeks exception or anything like that. Also, even though the opinion was drafted, blue states, even though it's just an opinion and it has not been published, blue states are galvanizing to prepare as if Roe v. Wade were already struck down, which I think is advisable to do. Again, there'll be a sharp split in the country where states will staunchly support abortion rights and states staunchly who are anti abortion. There will be no wiggle room. And so that will create where more than 50% of the states are banning abortion and only leaving 15 states, including Washington, D.C., which will allow abortion. So for states that ban abortion, the impact will fall on blue states, in which will create a healthcare refugees, where out of towners will flee to blue states that allow for abortion. But there's a caveat: only if these women have the resources to travel to these states, to stay in hotels, to take taxis and Ubers to go to the facilities, the Planned Parenthoods. Only if these women are fortunate enough to have the resources will they be able to use this as an option. All states right now that allow abortion could also face this surge in healthcare refugees. And so states are again already earmarking funds for these type of services, for the influx of women needing these services. One example is New York, which since 1970 became the second state in the US with broad legalization of abortion and expanded reproductive rights with a 2019 law that permits procedures after 24 weeks of pregnancy, if necessary, to protect the patient's health. New York has very progressive laws as it relates to abortion, as well as California. There are other states, New Hampshire, the Northeast. A majority of the states in the Northeast have progressive laws as it relates to abortion. Some states also are creating a fund to help women seeking abortion with expenses such as travel and lodging, because this could be very costly for women who are minors who are under 16, under 18, who don't have a lot of resource and family support, this can be another tax on our already traumatic experience for a woman who's not able to have a child, who does not have the resources to raise a family. So for her to have to come up with travel, room and lodge, uh, bus tickets if she has to, or flying, like it could be extremely detrimental. So there are funds that are available to help these women. So all of this is pending before each state legislation. And I think the private sector will also step in, philanthropic efforts will step in to help buffer women who need access to abortion. So hopefully we will see that as well, where there's a lot of resources poured into helping women. Also, there might be a further ban on Plan B, IUDs, and other contraceptives in these states, which is extremely, extremely concerning that senators and congressmen have decided that they are coming into the bedrooms of husbands and wives and intimate partners and deciding whether or not you can have access to contraceptive, which is so invasive and such an overreach. But that could be coming down the pike. And again, the most heinous of it all is underground abortions will probably start to happen. This has left so many women who went through extreme means, risking their life, fertility to resolve this situation. So that is what we're going to be looking forward to. Um, Not the only state to do this. Also, there's a growing list of companies, including Apple, Citi, Microsoft, who are allowing for this to be part of their health insurance that they offer. But again, women who are not fortunate enough to work for these tech giants, what will they do? What will they do other than having to resort to back alley abortions? I don't know if Congress or senators even care that this will be the end result for a woman who is desperate and does not have the financial means to cross state lines in order to get this procedure done. And but women will have to rely on their wits and savviness to maneuver around this because they can no longer seek the protection of their state government. And also, we see the United States being pushed back 50 years, where other countries, the other developed countries and developing countries, this is not even an issue. Mexico, Argentina, Ireland, countries that have historically banned and criminalized abortion now make abortion available. We will also probably see Americans who are traveling to Canada or to Mexico. So if there's a woman in Texas who needs an abortion, Mexico may be a better option, a cheaper option than traveling to the Northeast or to California. So we also see that. So this is dire, and I really don't have answers as to what will happen next. All we know is as a nation, we're gripping and preparing that this will be the end result, that there will no longer be a federal protection, a federal right to a woman's right to privacy and to have an abortion. And this probably is the blueprint of other rights being infringed upon and repealed back. So we shall see. Another day in Gilead. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Yeah, this is like the Handmaid's Tale. Under his eye. Yeah, we're definitely under his eye. Yeah, women are back to the Stone Age and having to rely on their wits, their resources, community to find a way around this because we can no longer seek the protection of state government to protect us. That's just the fact of it. So, what we thought was a protected constitutional right is no longer. I wonder what's next. What's next? So, with that, I leave you under his eye. I will keep you updated when the opinion becomes published, we will see the outcry in America, as if America is not already in civil unrest on so many issues. This had to come. This may break America. You know, it's devastating. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Yeah, I could see Planned Parenthood, abortion services receiving a lot more funding and support after this, and protecting the doctors who are willing to perform these sorts of procedures. They are going to need a lot more support and protection as well, because this is becoming dire. Something else I wanted to mention. Yeah, there'll be a black market for the Plan B and other contraceptives if other states become more aggressive in outlawing contraceptives, even that. So it's really getting closer and closer to the jugular. But there's something else I wanted to mention. I just can't remember it. So let me know what you think. What do you think? Is this America going backwards? Certainly think so. I think they should legislate a lot of other things when this is not an area that okay. So I just wanted to come on here, give you the legal impact of what happens when abortion is banned. I never imagined this. I'm telling you, when I was in law school, and every school student, it's just part of the curriculum where you read Roe v. Wade. And from that, I knew Roe v. Wade was protected, a protective right, that the Supreme Court will never touch this. But here we are again. So that means every other right is up for fair game. The original Constitution, which is what originalists say. Oh, it wasn't part of the original Constitution. Well, neither was slavery. So are we going to do enslave people again because it was part of the original of the forefathers who wrote the Constitution? Do we want to go that far? Women's rights to vote, do we want to take that away? Because that wasn't part of the original Constitution. This could go on and on and on. And that's why it's us to ring the alarm as how far this will go, because our voice matters. There's more of us than there is of them, but our voice matters, and they are pulling the strings for decisions that affect our daily lives. You know, doctors who perform these in these states, at this point it's still legal in these red states. It hasn't been repealed in totality. Just to put that out there, women can still have access to abortion in these states, but that is quickly, like, they are figuring out what to do in the event that they can no longer perform these services in these states. They're figuring that out. They're going to have to reload the other states. So professionally, some doctors, I think the law says once this is passed, legislators are pushing that these doctors face life in if they perform an abortion, because it would be illegal in that state. So these the Republicans are being merciless as it relates to this. I want to know, are they going to women who've had these unwanted pregnancies? What for helping these women who have unwanted pregnancies? How are they going to provide financial support, educational support for those who are young mothers? What are they going to do to these families? And a large proportion of women who have abortions are even married. I want to see what proportion. Yeah, what proportion. It's a large proportion of women who are married. Let me see. So the New York Times has an article that lays out who gets abortion in America. This article says a portion of the typical patient, a typical woman who's getting an abortion, teenagers are having far fewer abortions because of the introduction of contraceptives. And abortion patients are most likely to have already be mothers. So most abortions, nearly half of abortions, so over 50% of abortions happen in the first 6 weeks of pregnancy and nearly all in the first trimester. So most women seek abortion services within the first trimester. The typical patient, in addition to having children, is poor, unmarried, in her late 20s. So I stand corrected. Has some college education and is very early in pregnancy. But in the reproductive lives of women, "25% of women have an abortion by the end of their childbearing age." So one model as to who gets abortion, the same people who become pregnant and give birth are the same women who have abortions at different points in their lives. So again, these are women who already have been mothers, who probably are married. So that's also a factor. And again, abortions are not as common as they once were because of contraceptives. Contraceptives are more effective than they've ever been. So a lot of women are already mothers. That's 6 in 10 women abortions are already mothers, and half of them have 2 or more children. And so one of the main reasons women report wanting to have an abortion is so that they can be a better parent to the children they already have. So, yeah. And a large proportion, if not within the first trimester. 43% happen in the first 6 weeks. 36% happen in 7 to 9 weeks. And then as the time goes on, fewer and fewer women receive abortion. So that's also something a woman in her largest portion of the demographic. And very few, 9% are under 20 years old. So this is really going to affect, most of them are low income. 46% of them are unmarried or never married or single. And 14% of these women are married. 31% are cohabitating. So a large percentage of women are in relationships, whether married or cohabitating with a man, and make this decision. So I just thought it'd be interesting to put this out there and let you know. And most of them live in blue states. That's interesting. So I just wanted to give you that statistic because I was curious about the proportion of married women who receive abortion. I'll link the article as well. Again, I bid you farewell. See you next time. Let me know what you think. Again, this is the legal. We discuss a wide range of legal topics. Right now, there's so many dynamic issues going on in the news. So this channel is ripe where you can learn so much. And if you like that sort of thing, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with anyone else, because I'm going to put in a lot of resources that you could turn to if you know anyone in this position and they need resources. I will link, and see you next time. Bye-bye.